Welcome back to the channels. My name is Thomas Fletcher, and I'm the host of both the LCSW network and the Military Social Work Network. If you're new to both of these channels, please do me a favor by smashing that like button, by subscribing to the channels, and by sharing this video with your social work colleagues and friends. The purpose of both of these channels is to create a community of hope and support, where social workers can come for relevant news, information, and inspiration. Well, welcome back to Ask a Military Social Worker. So I got some questions from a viewer named Vanessa. Vanessa is a prior service 68 Whiskey, which is a medic in the U.S. Army. So Vanessa writes that she's about to take her LCSW exam, and she is interested in joining the service again as a direct commission 73 Alpha, which is a social worker in the U.S. Army. So she wants to know how competitive is it to do the direct commission route. And I do have experience, going the direct commission route as a social worker in the U.S. Army. I pursued that about 12 years ago. I joined the California Army National Guard back in 2011. As a direct commission, which means I already had my master's degree, I already had my LCSW, and based on that experience, I was able to join the U.S. Army through the California Army National Guard. So I can tell you, again, from my own experience, that the competitiveness, it really depends on when you're coming in, what state you're joining. If you're joining reserve component, whether that's National Guard, whether that's U.S. Army Reserve. But let's think about it systematically. I would say if you're looking at active duty, and let's say that you could serve in any state active duty, right? Let's say you're not attached yet. You don't have kids, you don't have a significant other, you're not settled into property, real estate, and you can pick up and just go. Let's say you're in that situation, then you will have access to the most slots, in active duty. And I would also add, if you are open to joining any of the military branches beyond the Army, that's going to give you the most number of slots that you would be eligible to apply to. So not just Army social work positions, but you could talk to Navy recruiters. You could talk to Air Force recruiters, right? So that's going to be another factor. Yeah. So active duty versus reserve component, Army branch alone versus all branches of the military. It's going to be another factor. Yeah, and then if we drill down, let's say you want to join the Air Force, right? You could do that. You could join either Air Force active component, or you could join Air National Guard or U.S. Air Force Reserve, right? You could do that. Again, if you were to look at outside of the Army, like the Navy, you could look at U.S. Navy active duty versus U.S. Naval Reserve, right? And then again, Army active duty, Army National Guard, Army Air National Guard, right? I'm sorry. For Army, it's going to either be U.S. Army active duty, U.S. Army Reserve, or U.S. Army National Guard, right? Air National Guard is part of the Air Force. Yeah, I'm sorry. Let's see what else. drilling down, here's what I've been looking at myself lately. So I recently transferred from Army National Guard to the Army Reserve, right? So, and this is a good one, because if you're looking at National Guard, you are going to be limited to the state, the state that you're looking at, the state, potentially the state that you're living in. Although, you know, if you do decide to serve in the Army National Guard, you could live in one state and serve in another state. So there's no residency requirements. But most people that serve in either in the reserve, either Army Reserve or Army National Guard, they usually live and serve in the same state, right? So that's gonna be a limiting factor, right? A limiting factor. If you were to serve in the U.S. Army Reserve, now you're opening yourself up to 50 states that you could serve in, right? Because the Army Reserve is a federal force, whereas Army National Guard is a hybrid between, shared between the state and the federal government, right? So it's going to be a lot of different factors, and again, depending on if we're in an active state of combat, there may be more positions available. I know when I joined in 2011, there were a lot more available positions then than there are now. Matter of fact, when I left California Army National Guard, I heard that there's a waiting list for 73 Alpha candidates that want to join the California Army National Guard. That means there's more people that are interested in joining than available slots, because we're not in the same level of combat that we were back in 2011. Right, during 2011, we were still in Iraq, we were still in Afghanistan, and we're still in Iraq, but it's very different. You know, I deployed with a unit 2 years ago to Kuwait, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia, and you know, it was a different. Again, I didn't deploy in 2011, but from the soldiers that I provided behavioral health services to in 2011 who did deploy back in 2011, it's a different beast, which means that the military does not have the same need for 73 Alphas and 73 Bravos now that they had the need for back in 2011, 2012, right? So I know that was kind of a long answer to your questions, Vanessa. But here's as we close out this video, here's some things for you to think about. Again, think about, you know, your lifestyle right now. You know, are you open to serving anywhere in the country, or are you kind of restricted to where you're living at right now? You know, if you're restricted, then here's my suggestion. You know, if you're established with, you bought your house and you like where you're living, you like your neighbors, you have kids, you have a significant other, and you really don't want to have to pick up and relocate, you know, if you don't want the active duty lifestyle, and you already told me that you were prior service, so most likely you've already done active duty, and you know what that's like, and you may be wanting to settle down now, then I would say look at reserve component, which means look at any of the reserve component, whether that's Army Reserve, whether that's Army National Guard, whether that's Navy Reserve, whether that's Air Force Reserve, Air National Guard. I would say if you've settled down and you don't want to pick up again, look at reserve component. I would say that would probably be the best way for you to pursue a direct commission career if you don't want to move around or have to relocate to another part of the country. I would say reserve component is probably the best career pathway for you. All right, so Vanessa, thank you for your questions and your comments. I hope this helps. And to all the viewers out there, please keep sending me comments. Please keep sending me questions. I love receiving them. I love to make these videos and help people that are wanting to enter the military social work, profession. It's so needed. So I'm going to stop here, but I want to thank you all for watching this video. To all the social workers and other licensed mental health professionals, thank you for the work that you do every day, for your clients, for your agency, and for the profession. Please continue to support each other and yourselves. Bye for now.